Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Shaka, Hislop and Nicol. Later on in the show, Luis and Robert will be here to look ahead to Barca against Atleti in La Liga. But we'll kick things off by reflecting on what happened in the top of the table clash yesterday in the Premier League. Of course, 1-1 between Chelsea and Arsenal. But it was the manner of the game, the feistiness of it, that certainly dominates the headlines. Sock it to him. Enzo sees red, Blue see red over cards. There are 7 yellow cards, of course, in total. 25 fouls between the two of them. Was almost like a South American feel to this tie. Chelsea won, though. Arsenal won is how it finishes. We welcome in Mario Melchiot. Mario was at the game. Mario, when did you know that this was going to be a feisty affair?
Friday.
As soon as they kicked off from the first minute. It was already heated, you know. Yeah. It was like it's kicked off already. The funny part was, prior to the game kicked off, I bumped into Reece James in the tunnel. And so he comes over, and the way I could see the stare in his eyes already that he was ready, he greeted me, he went back into the dressing room, and I knew, okay, let's see what's going to happen. They come out. Wow, they were ready. They were ready to... I felt like, okay, the red card, of course, they implemented a little bit more into the team, I think. And the way he played the game was like how... we experience, you know, all the guys sitting there experience a proper derby. Like, you really go at it and you show, like, as a captain, you got to set the tone and lead the team. And I think he did that from the first minute. A lot of fouls, but it's also the game needs that. Why do I say the game needs that? It's not that I want a game that people start kicking each other, but I like passion. When passion is on the field, I think you see that both teams want to win the game. And I think regardless if you had a red card, Chelsea still tried to win the game, and that was really impressive for me.
There was talk, Stevie, that maybe Arsenal fell into Chelsea's trap a little bit, and then they started to fight fire with fire instead of just sticking to their game. Is that a fair criticism?
No, not at all. I don't go with that whatsoever. Zero. I mean, what are you supposed to do when somebody's throwing the flames at you? You're supposed to just run away?
Right.
No, you've got to stand up for yourself. And that's what
So is that what you did like when Liverpool was so dominant back in the day?
Absolutely.
But how much does that not break up your flow a little bit, in the fact you're more interested in fighting than football?
No, because you've got to win the fight first. Once you win the fight, then you can play your football. Everybody tries to do it the other way around. But if you've got a team like Chelsea who are not going to stand by and let you play your football and they're going to throw things at you, then you have to stand up and be strong, and that's what it was. And Caicedo was the only one that really stepped over the mark.
Okay.
Everybody else stood up and took the punches, basically. And as a player, you can't ask or accept anything other than that. I mean, it's one of the things I miss most about playing, the physical contact.
Kicking people.
No, I wouldn't put it that way. Just the physical contact. You know, sometimes you come out the injured one, but if you're smart, the majority of the time, you're the one that comes out.
So what was it about it? Like early on in the game, you know it's going to be the sort of tie for 90 minutes, and that would get you going.
Well, yeah. Well, you know it's coming for a period of time,
right?
Because when I was watching the game just before the red card, I'm thinking, who's going to flag first?
Okay.
Because the pace of the game was ferocious. The intensity was great. Everybody's getting smashed in, as you said. It was magic to watch. But I did wonder who was going to calm down or cool down or run out of steam first. In the end, you know, the game sort of, although it stayed intense, it did sort of cool down a little after the red card. So that took care of that.
It was intense, I think, is a good way to describe it.
I thought it was an outstanding game to watch, and credit to Chelsea, not just for the job they did with 10 men. I thought they dictated the pace, to your point, that the game, well, certainly would start with. And Arsenal had to match it. I'm fully with Stevie. You have to match. You have to win the fight before you can settle down and play the football. Now, there's one thing with a team lower down the table, playing at that tempo. If they don't have the quality, if they don't have the understanding of how to press, it's easy to pass through a team playing at tempo without any real structure. Chelsea are not. Chelsea, a lot of people are looking at the Sunderland performance against Arsenal and pointing to that as an example as to how to get the better of Arsenal. And with the greatest respect to Chelsea, you could see that, well, they were willing to take that physical step to Arsenal, but they just have far more quality than Sunderland. So they were able to play the football that you saw. They were able to press as high up, be as physical as they were, and be rewarded for it, even with 10 men on the park. I think the most amazing thing about the Chelsea performance for me is, if you'd asked me who was easily Chelsea's most important player in the build-up to this game, I'd have said Moses Caicedo, no question. Yet he's off after, 29 minutes. And there is no drop of quality, no drop of intensity from Chelsea with 10 men. And I think that speaks a lot to, one, the job that Reece James did in midfield, but two, and more to the point, the other 10 on the park, how they organized, the change at half-time. I thought seeing Chelsea manage, who I still believe are easily the best team in the league, in the way that they did with 10 men, was something to witness.
You think back to, about this time last season, Mario, we were talking about Chelsea doing well, top of the table. Maresca came out and said, wait, we are not title contenders. Has that narrative changed now, 12 months on?
No, because, I said it to myself. I said, this was not the season that I would look at them being title contenders. Why? Because of all the instability that they went through. So after the game, I spoke to him. This was one of the questions that I asked him. I said, what is your goal? What do you want to achieve now? He said, look, the players are really well. I like my team. We are full of talents in the team. I was happy with the game that we played today, and you saw it. I had real belief, because I asked him, I said, how could you go for a win when you are playing arguably against one of the best teams in your league and you still try to get your win? He goes, because I have real trust in those talents that I possess in my team. So he said, I knew we could win the game if it maybe got more to our side. He said, but we knew it was going to be tough. I'm not no disrespect to Arsenal, he said. He said, but I knew we could win it. But then also he highlighted and he said, look, I don't want to say that we can go for the title, because that is not fair. He said, but next season, I want to go for it. And then I said to him, yeah, you probably have to go for it. And he goes, yeah, we have to go for it next season. So this season doesn't see it like that, but you're still second in the league. And people are still going to watch you, or now third, but still people are going to watch you and say to you, look, hey, you're that high up, why don't you go all the way? And then Reece James goes, yeah, we want to win everything. But deep down, we know how he was last season too when he was high up. He kind of said that, but he meant different. In this way, I have no doubt that he will say, guys, if we can catch it, we'll take it.
What is that? What's that all about?
You tell me, is this mind games?
I sat here last year and he said the same thing. If I'm a Chelsea player, I don't want to hear it. How about, who gets to pick and choose what year they win the league?
Sure.
It's absolute nonsense. If you can produce...
Yeah, but Stevie, you don't think he's going to say that in the team? In the team, he doesn't say it.
Of course he has to.
We have the same with our coaches.
If you're Chelsea
only
players and you perform the way that you did, right, against Arsenal, that's what you're capable of. Why can't you try and play to that standard every time you get on the field? And if you do that, then you've got a chance of winning the league. So how about you be positive and just make sure that everybody has got the same standard. Now, the manager and the coach, whatever you like to call him, is going to know better than anybody else what he thinks his players are capable of over a certain period of time. But that's all good and well. But how about you positively tell them, hey, if you do this every time you step on the field, we can win this league. If you think they're ready or not,
I have no doubt he's telling them, Stevie. He's telling them that. You know that, Stevie. We played the game.
I actually don't, Mario.
You had the same thing.
I actually don't. I don't know that.
No, but I'm saying we had all coaches that sometimes said something else to the press, but in-house that said something totally different. And with him, I have that feeling. What he says to the press is different what he says to the team, because when he came out and he stood next, the way he was talking and the way he was acting, he didn't give me that feeling.
You're a Chelsea boy.
Yeah. You're right about that, but I'm just telling you.
You're in the house. Why would he not tell you? He knows you're part of the Chelsea family, basically. Why? If he doesn't want to tell the press or anybody else, that's fine.
He was interviewing him, to be fair, wasn't he? He wasn't like, he weren't having a cup of tea.
Yeah, the camera was on.
I didn't know he was interviewing him, but yeah, I don't believe that.
No, the camera was on. Sorry, the camera was on.
When the camera went off.
Yeah.
He's going, "Way, we're gonna win the league!"
Yeah, that's a difference.
The thing that got me going was when he said about, well, maybe next year.
Yeah.
And the first thing that came to mind was, hold on a second, you can't pick and choose when you win the Premier League.
So why one tone to the press and one tone in theory to players, Shaq? Why not come out and get the Chelsea supporters behind you, and instead of talking about next year, talk about this year?
Yeah, and listen,
We've already beaten Barcelona. We held Arsenal. You know, we're looking great.
I have no problem with to your phrasing, one tone to the press, one tone to the players. Certainly right now in November, going into in early December, and it's still a 6-point gap. I think everybody still would make Arsenal as favourites to win the title right now. But I also think that this game changes the feeling, if not the rhetoric, around Chelsea. Because, as I said, coming into this game, I would have thought the one player Chelsea cannot do without is Moises Caicedo. And look what they performed. Now they have set their standard as to who they are, who they can be. And while 6 points right now feels like a lot, kind of given how consistent Arsenal may be, if Chelsea continue to produce these kinds of performances, in the league at least, they are probably better positioned, given that 90 minutes we saw from them, to run Arsenal down than Manchester City. That's given that 90 minutes. Now they've got to continue replicating that kind of form, that kind of performance. But even so, it's still a big ask. Right now, I have no issue with Maresca saying two different things to two different audiences, as long as what he's saying to the players is, listen, we can win this. We just have to keep showing up as we did today, and we can, at the very least, give them an almighty fright.